We are stronger when we work with our allies around the world.
Recently, I have said that NATO was obsolete.
I think it's fair to say that the U.S. elections this November are the most important elections, at least in my lifetime. I think there's a lot at stake, and I think more than Americans are nervous what might happen if Donald Trump wins. The foreign policy differences of the two campaigns are substantial, but there's a challenge because it's not always clear what Donald Trump stands for. It is very clear what Hillary's platforms are. They're all on the website, whereas Donald Trump just says, I'll do good deals, I'll make this happen, I will change this. And he provides very little substance, and he changes his mind quite often. Some people have been arguing, well, if Donald Trump wins, the checks and balances in the United States are so strong, the bureaucracy is strong, so he will be constrained. His kind of crazy impulses will be held in check. I'm not so sure about that. Don't forget what happened when President Bush became president. He was able to manipulate the bureaucracy and sidestep the checks and balances to invade Iraq. Many parts of the U.S. government did not support that. And because he had a very strong team who knew how government worked, they were able to manipulate the bureaucracy. Now, Donald Trump doesn't actually have experienced people right now on his campaign who would know how to do that, but it's possible that many of them might be ambitious enough that they want a job and they would be willing to join the administration so that they could undertake some really reckless foreign policy entanglements. Hillary Clinton faces a challenge that she's seen as the establishment. She's been in the public eye for over 40 years. And if she wins, her foreign policy objectives will be, she's a little bit more hawkish than Obama. She's more forward-leaning on policies such as Syria and the use of force in Syria. So the issue is really, will she be elected? If she's elected, she's got a whole machine in place. She knows foreign policy very well. Obviously, she was Secretary of State, and she's surrounded by very experienced advisors. It's very difficult for the Republicans to go after Hillary Clinton on foreign policy, and so they keep repeating the Benghazi story. She sat through 10 hours of testimony and gave them all the information they needed. There have been millions of dollars spent by committees looking into what happened in Benghazi, and she has been cleared of any wrongdoing. She feels as horribly as anybody else does for the loss of life that happened in Libya. I personally worked with Ambassador Stevens. We had worked with him when he was ambassador in Libya, and she took that very seriously. So I think it's a red herring that they keep going after her on that, but the reality is they don't have much to go after her on in terms of foreign policy. Sometimes the Trump campaign goes after her and Obama on ISIS. The reality is ISIS exists because of the U.S. invasion in Iraq. The U.S. invasion in Iraq caused a number of Iraqis under the leadership of Zarqawi, al-Qaeda in Iraq, to mount an insurgency because the invasion was so poorly mishandled. Al-Qaeda in Iraq subsequently turned into ISIS. So the reason we have ISIS today is not because of Hillary Clinton or Obama's mishandling of the situation. It's because of the invasion in Iraq, which happened under the Bush administration. Another thing that's quite interesting about what might happen in the United States relates to what happened in this country with respect to Brexit. So the populism that led many British citizens to vote to leave the European Union, many say, oh, that's going to happen in the US and Trump is going to win. It's a very similar situation, and many Americans are feeling that too. They were worried about that after this country voted to leave the EU. On the other hand, there's another way of looking at it. In this country, you now have a very competent, kind of quiet, introverted, intellectual female prime minister, and that could be what you end up with as well in the United States. Hillary Clinton is not overly charismatic, she's quiet, she's very intellectual, she's very considered. So what I would find quite fascinating is to have Theresa May, prime minister in this country, Hillary Clinton, president in the United States, working with Angela Merkel, three women of very similar temperaments who are all very competent and very hardworking and very considered.